I'd like to call to order this meeting, a special meeting of the Pleasant Grove City Council on this Monday, March the 2nd, 2020, and welcome all who have joined us here this evening. And our first item of business we have here is to consider for approval pay request number 1 for Cody Ecker Construction for Pleasant Grove Filters Diversion Project.
There's not necessarily an explanation. They've started work, and we're ready to make that first payment to them. And instead of making them wait another 2 weeks before we meet, we would request approval of this item.
No other questions on that was in your packet there. I asked for a motion.
Mayor, I'll make.
Okay, hold on, just to make sure is this the filters?
Yes.
Yeah.
Water
Okay.
filters.
It's the first, so they've been working on it.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
So Mayor, I'll make a motion that we approve pay request number 1 for Cody Ecker Construction for the PI filters and the diversion project.
We have a motion by Councilmember Evans. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We now move to item number 3. Consider for adoption Resolution 2020-012, authorizing the mayor to sign a contract for services between Central Utah 911 and Pleasant Grove City to provide public safety dispatch services and providing for an effective date.
Thank you.
Scott.
This is in your packet here as we follow along. This, if you remember, about 6 weeks ago, we had a meeting where we went over the terms as we were negotiating with Central in regards to this. And at this point, really what we talked about the other day, there is not a whole lot that's really changed. But let me introduce Mike and Doreen with Central. They're here. If there's any questions that as I go over this agreement, if there's something that gets a little bit technical in nature, then they'll be here to help answer that. And then we also have Heidi here, who's our current dispatch manager, which I think you're all aware will be transitioning to Central as well as part of this move. So we're glad that she has opportunity. We'll be sad that she's leaving, but they have a nice career opportunity for her that they're offering her. So with that, as we go through the agreement, I want to start with page 2, 5.1, which is this agreement shall be effective on Sunday, March 8th, 2020 at 7 a.m. We chose a Sunday because it's a little more quiet. 7 a.m. actually coincides with a shift change because at that point, then whatever employees will be dispatching that are Pleasant Grove City employees, they will now become Central employees for those that have decided to move over to Central. And I'll get into that in a minute as to how that's transacted, but we just wanted to let you know that that will be the official switch over as far as that service is being concerned. On 6.1, these were the major things that we negotiated. These haven't changed since the last time that we have talked. But our buy-in amount was $354,900, of which we'll receive a credit for some of the equipment that they will be using, our consoles and some computer. Actually, if you go to the next page, it's actually on there. Radio consoles, phone positions, consoles, and software licensing. And then we'll talk about the future CIE in a minute. That gets a little bit technical. So if you want to jump into the nuts and bolts of exactly what that means, they'll be here to answer that question. So we'll be receiving a credit of $189,900 for that. Also, they will be leasing our space. And so we have about 600 square feet of space up in our, what we call the dispatch area at this moment. Also in that area, we have some office space, a break room, and things like that. As a city, we're going to maintain the use of that space. Really what we're leasing to Central will be where the dispatch consoles are. So we estimate that to be about 600 square feet. So we settled on $30 a foot for the cost of that lease space, which translates into $90,000 over the course of 5 years. And so it was $18,000 a year for 5 years. And so we'll receive a credit towards our buy-in cost of $90,000. That does leave a balance of $75,000. Central has agreed. This is 6.1C. that they will allow to defer that payment for 5 years. At the end of the 5 years, there's two things that could happen. One is that we have some radios, I believe 4 of them, that they will obtain possession of that have a value to them. Meaning when the state decides to switch these radios out for the latest and greatest, because they're going to have our radios, there's going to be a value that comes with that. So that value, which we won't know until that switch happens, which could be in 3 or 4 years, will then be credited towards the $75,000. Whatever balance is remaining will go into discussions after year 5 as for the use of that space. So at the end of 5 years, if the city needs the space, then we will be taking the space back, and whatever the remaining balance is, we'll need to cut a check at that time. If Central does not have a need of the space after the end of 5 years, then that agreement will end, and we'll write the check. If Central still has a need for the space and we don't, then we will enter into a separate agreement, another agreement that would extend that, so maybe for another 5 years. So we would have that discussion at that point to see where we're at. If they decide to extend that, then that would again go towards the credit of the buy-in cost. So does that make sense as I talk through that? 6.2 is what our annual cost will be right now is $297,319. That's it's on a 3-year rolling cycle, and that's based on your number of calls, and so that number will fluctuate slightly. If they take on new agencies, there's a chance that number could come down. If we have a regular call volume, that number hopefully stays roughly the same. If our call volume goes up for whatever reason, then that number could go up. So those payments are made quarterly, but that is the number right now that we know that we will be paying for the first year that we're doing this service. The next page shows the outline of the equipment type and the credit that we will be receiving. 6.4 talks about the usage that Central, it will be using this as a primary backup site for their operations in Spanish Fork. They're looking to test it maybe 2 times a month. At this point, with them leasing the space, it's going to be up to them how often they're going to be in there. If they're in there 5 times a month, that's great. If they don't have a month where they're not in there, that's fine too. I mean, they're leasing the space, so that'll be at their discretion.
So Scott, just to be clear, this is more of a backup site and not a full
Yeah, so
site.
they won't be dispatching out of there on a 24/7 basis. In fact, the intention is, if I understand when I talked with Mike this morning, as of Monday, so Sunday will be kind of the transition day, but as of Monday, they're hoping to have everybody dispatching out of Spanish Fork. So within 1 day to get that figured out. And part of that is having CenturyLink on site to make sure that the 911 calls are all going to transfer and everything's going to work. So I think that's their intention. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. Okay. And some cross-training. They have the Pleasant Grove dispatchers are going to need to learn new cities, and those that are currently working for Central are going to need to learn Pleasant Grove, and so they'll be doing some training in that regard before they turn people loose on that. So at the end of 6.4, it just talks about the 600 square feet at $30 per square foot for the first 5 years. Oh, and we did say there's going to be some details to the lease. The numbers won't change, but we'll have a standard lease agreement that Tina and their attorney will work on. We'll bring that back in a separate agreement to you. Section 9.1 is in regards to the employees. So Central 911 agrees to offer full and part-time employment to all the current employees, which has been done. They've issued a potential contract to all of our employees. To my understanding, when I talked with Mike this morning, we have 2 individuals that were full-time with us that will be going over full-time with Central. We have 2 individuals that were part-time with us that will be full-time with Central. And then we have 7 or 8. I know there's still another part-time position that is being figured out. So 7 or 8 part-timers that are part-timers here that will go over and be part-time with Central. So with that, is that right? 12 employees will be, have signed up with Central. Now, we know I think we have one other employee that's decided to go to another agency. We do have one employee we intend to retain to help with our transition with the non-emergency calls and to work on some of that. So that's, now, as far as their negotiations with Central, we have not been involved as a city. We've let the individuals, we didn't want to be any influence in any way, other than we asked Central to make sure that the opportunity was provided, which they have delivered. They have offered every employee that we have. And then whether the employee chose to go and what the pay was going to be and the sign-up bonus and the fronted vacation sick, that's all been between Central and the employees. And so sounds like it's been somewhat successful with 12 of our employees that have decided to go over to Central. I think that covers, so the rest of this is kind of there's the indemnifications, resolution, scope of services, a little bit of the legalese. If you have questions on the legalese, Tina can answer those questions for you, but that is in essence the agreement. The intention is for the council to adopt this evening. Central is having their board meet in a special meeting as well on Thursday at 9 a.m. For them to adopt this agreement, and then the transition will be March 8th. So that's the plan as of right now. So any
Scott,
questions?
we talked about making it modifications to doors and access to Central. How's that?
We decided not to because they're not going to be in there often enough, I think, for us to go through the expense of putting those doors in, particularly if they're, let's say they're only here 5 years. We'd hate to put those doors in and then have them kind of be a pain 5
I
years
agree.
from now.
That's the reason I asked.
So, yeah,
So that potentially adds to the savings.
that saves us, we figured that number at close to $10,000 to put those doors in, so that's savings that we will see.
Any other questions?
I had hoped that they would use a space.
Yeah.
That was, I'd hoped that they would use this as a second facility and use that here. Disappointed that didn't come to fruition.
Yeah, I mean, that was part of the negotiated deal. Like I said, they won't be using it 24/7, but they will use it as their primary backup site.
Any other questions for Scott?
Not for Scott, and this is mostly a 911 question.
Come on up.
So I think it was a week ago in Salt Lake County, for 24 hours, they were having a hard time picking up signals. And I'm just wondering what happens in a situation like that? What was the problem? How did they solve that? And what does that look like for Pleasant Grove?
So they haven't come back with a definitive answer on that, but it looks, from what we've seen initially, is a Verizon wireless problem.
Okay.
It was intermittent, so Central didn't get hit. I don't believe Pleasant Grove did. And it was mainly Salt Lake and a couple other up there. And it's possible that it was part of their 5G upgrade that hit that, but they haven't come back and told us that yet.
Okay. So that would be, so if that happened in Utah County, that would be something that you guys would just work just very similar to what Salt Lake did?
Correct, and they usually make notifications by phone calls and email when there's an outage. We even get that down to a scope. If there's one person with CenturyLink that's affected, they'll send us an email and actually robocalls and calls from their centers saying that we're getting that.
Okay. Happy to hear that our dispatchers have been gainfully employed. And I think for me, the most important thing is that you just take good care of our citizens.
We will take good care of them. In fact, one of the things that wasn't mentioned in this agreement is with the fire department, we're in the process of adding a new fire alerting system, and it's gonna automate that system, so our dispatchers will take a little stress off them. They can actually accept a response plan, and it'll go out and have like a voice like Siri that comes out to your agency, and we're paying for that installation all the way up to the fire station. So that's part of this too that they're getting.
Wow.
Well, so that answered the one question is, and maybe I'm wrong, chiefs, are we good on the channels? I think you guys share everything's good to go there, and
Yeah, the last thing that we're looking at right now is that fire paging, but my IT has been working with, and Noreen has also been working with UCA on getting that connections. We already have access to the channels, so the channels are there. It's just the fire paging is the last part of it, but that connection should be in place by.
And are you adding another channel to kind of accommodate the North Utah County traffic?
Yeah, so our goal is that we're actually going to add a fourth law channel and split our usage to bring that down so it's not as busy. And that will help the officers to be able to get on the radio and traffic stops. And we're also looking at adding another fire position here in the near future. That'll,
One question I had, we've been spoiled. Every day we receive an email from dispatchers. I'm assuming that's going to go away or will need to go away. We receive an email from dispatchers kind of about the status of what's happened over the last 24 hours. What is the process, or could there be a process to update us in any way, weekly, monthly, yearly, I don't know, on how things are going?
yeah, we do.
And specifically our city. Now, I would probably want to know how things are going from a contract perspective, but also, how are things, what's the status of crime in our city?
We do pull regular monthly statistical reports as well as billing. So with our billing, one of the things that we do is we don't double ding, if you will. And so if a call has a canine support, we wouldn't charge a city for that. But we pull all of that data. Noreen does actually monthly, so we can get that statistic to the agencies and the cities monthly.
We'd love that.
Okay.
Sid, do you have anything?
What's going on with our 3506 number?
So that will stay our general admin number that will just ring to our admin offices.
And is that the position that we have a current dispatcher that's going to be taking part-time? And when will she start that position?
Right away.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it will be regular office hours, so it will
Okay.
be, Monday through Friday.
And then we already have that set up, so when if they do call on the weekends or after hours, it will direct them where to go and where to leave a message in the meantime?
Yeah, so the 7506 number.
3506?
3506.
Yeah,
Is it
785-3506.
Sorry.
Talk
I
on me
don't
goes
call it that often.
785-4718, so.
So no, what will happen is that will go into, in essence, a phone tree. And the first thing we'll say, if this is an emergency, hang up and dial 911. Other than that, it will leave a voicemail, and then whoever's working will show up on Monday and listen to the voicemails and then return whatever calls they need to, or direct those calls to who
So
they
will
need
it
to
go to Jade's desk? Is that
Yes.
where the message will go, and then she'll pick that up on Monday?
Uh-huh.
Okay,
That's the intention.
okay.
Any other questions?
so I think you were telling us 2 full-timers moved over to full-time. So Heidi, I think, did we not have 4 full-timers? I
Yeah.
think one went to another agency, or,
Yeah, we had 5 counting Heidi.
I'm not counting Heidi on this one,
Okay,
just
so
the
there's
4.
4.
Yeah,
So one of those is going to Central. One is, our understanding, is going to another agency.
sure.
One is staying with us, and then one,
that's
to our understanding, might be going part-time with Central, so. At their choice. They were offered full-time, but they're choosing to go part-time.
Anything else, council? If not, I would like to entertain a motion on resolution number 2020-012.
Mayor, I make a motion for adoption of Resolution 2020-12, authorizing the mayor to sign a contract for services between Central Utah 911 and Pleasant Grove City to provide public safety dispatch services and providing for an effective date.
We have a motion by Councilmember Jensen. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Bullock. This will be a roll call vote. We'll start out with Councilmember Anderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Bullock,
Yes.
Councilmember Jensen,
Yes,
Councilmember Lamone,
Yes.
Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes unanimously. We'll now move on, thank you, and move on to our item number 4. Consider for adoption Resolution 2020-013, authorizing the mayor to sign a purchase agreement with David W. and Lisa L. Flinders to purchase approximately .247 acres of real property located generally at 5317 North Canyon Road, Pleasant Grove, Utah, providing for an effective date.
What this is part of our filter project. We need an area that we call a drainage, or maybe a blow-off is a different term. So we need a piece of property that if there's an opportunity that we need to drain some water or have a blow-off, we just need to have a place set aside. So Marty has pinpointed this place, this property as a blow-off site. So we're recommending to the city council that we purchase this piece of property for that purpose.
Any questions on that, council? Do you see where that's located on your? Yeah. Okay. So if there is no other questions on that from the council, then I'd entertain a motion on Resolution 2020-013.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 2020-1013, authorizing the mayor to sign a purchase agreement with David W. and Lisa Elf Linders to purchase approximately .247 acres of real property located generally at 3317 North Canyon Road, Pleasant Grove, and providing for an effective date.
We have a
Second.
motion from Councilmember Williams. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Councilmember Lamone. This will be a roll call vote. We'll go the other direction now. Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
Councilmember Lamone.
Yes.
Councilmember Jensen.
Yes.
Councilmember Bullock.
Yes.
And Councilmember Anderson.
Yes. Just
Thank,
Just a really quick question. Is a blow-off the big pipe that comes up out of the ground and you can hear it?
Come on up, Aaron, that's an Aaron.
I know, because I knew that's why Aaron was here. I wanted to give him a reason.
Oh, yeah, thank you. No, really, it's just kind of a pipe that goes into the bottom of a little pond.
okay.
You won't see it coming out the top or anything. It's just when they flush the filters to clean them out, they need somewhere for it to go.
Okay,
So-
so it's actually like a detention basin for a
Yeah,
minute.
so it'll be a basin with
Okay.
a pipe coming into like the bottom of it,
Okay,
small one.
thank you, Aaron.
would you like to have a blow-off out front of your house there? Maybe we can arrange something there for you.
Well, we've done that before with Diana.
Blow-off?
Well, council, we've finished, unless any of the council has any further business we need to talk about together. Sid?
I just,
Make a motion to adjourn?
Well,
just really quick, I just had a question, maybe by the next, I don't know if we can, it just, are we doing anything as a city for the coronavirus? Because I've had a couple residents contact me, not specifically about the city, but about the school district. And so it made me question if we have something in place or what we would even do, or maybe the chief can speak to that, but do we have something in place where we could continue business, whether it's telecommuting, whatever it is?
So I'll turn that over to Mike. I'm guessing some of this is going to be, the county has a health department. They're the ones that generally would handle those and probably give directives as opposed to the city.
Okay.
We would likely follow their guidelines. Is there anything else, Mike, you'd want to?
Okay.
Let's cross our fingers.
So would a hospital notify us if someone came in? Like, how would we get that word? If someone goes in, is sick at a hospital and they test positive?
Well, I don't know if they're going to contact us as a city.
Contact us as a city.
They wouldn't, so,
Come through the county health department
okay,
again. The county is responsible for that, and any information that the public needs will come from.
I think the county's already made a statement. They've got an article out there, I think, or something on it. They've made a statement. So we may.
Okay. Well, back to Councilmember Williams. Were you going to make a motion?
I think I was going to make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? Second. And we have a second by Councilmember Jensen. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.